That's why I created Achieve with Purpose, is to help these students do the exact same thing. Let's stop talking about how much something makes. You can be a millionaire and you can be a billionaire, you can be a trillionaire and hate every solitary day.
Everything.
What is your definition of success? What makes you happy? What makes you giddy, joking, and excited and just like, this was the best day ever? How do we now find that as a job? How do we now make that your career? If you're spending over 80 hours, or 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week, shouldn't it be something that you love?
Yes.
Shouldn't it be your passion? Why not make it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not taught that way. We're taught to do your job, get some money, and then you can be happy.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Beauty in You podcast. I'm so excited today. We're in my home state, Georgia. Yay. Our guest today is a seasoned career consult and recruiter with over 15 years of experience, y'all. That's major. Let's just be clear on that. She has held key leadership roles at top Fortune 500 companies like Humana and PNC, where she's made a significant impact by unlocking human potential and guiding individuals toward academic and professional success. Currently based in Georgia, she is passionate about advocating for our HBCUs and is dedicated to helping others define their career aspirations, navigate life, and transition into the workforce. Welcome to the Beauty in You podcast, Keri Clarke-Pearson. How are you?
Hello, hello. I am so happy to be here, moving and grooving.
I am so happy to have you. I cannot wait to dive into all the great things that you do, especially supporting HBCUs, HBCU grad right here, represent. But you already know, before we get into all of that, I want to know the woman behind it all, the woman behind the mission. And I want you to take us on your rediscovery journey.
Absolutely. So, when you're younger, you kind of have an idea of what you want, or you hear the term success is this, the white picket fence, living in a certain community. But for me, I wanted to take a step back and think of, how can I help others? What is that key component? So when I went to an HBCU, I went to Hampton University, my home by the sea.
Yeah.
Always loved going back there. But when I was there, I learned so many things. I met so many incredible people and saw so many wonderful experiences. And then when I got into the work world and became a recruiter and started helping other people find their passions and their jobs and their opportunities, I realized that there were certain disconnects. There were unwritten rules, things that, if you knew, you knew, but if you didn't know, you didn't know. And a lot of folks that had so much potential weren't getting those opportunities. And I realized that I really wanted to help others. I wanted to make sure that the opportunities that I had and that other people have, that we can make those bigger and better and get folks prepared when they take that next step in. And it made me stop and say, okay, what do I want to do? How can I help empower these folks?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Helping others, I think, is so big. And you have to have such a big heart when doing that. Is helping others something you've always found doing, even in your younger, like back in the days, like growing up? I know for me, like I've always been like, since elementary, like I feel like I've always had a group of people that came to me with something. I'm like, I've always been doing this. It's kind of natural for me to help others. Is that something that you can relate to?
Absolutely. It's the first thing. I'm always looking at the person. Well, how can I help you? Or what are those next pieces? Because at the end of the day, if we do it together, we're so much stronger and we can take that next step in. I can even remember before I started college, being in and being on the fencing team and starting to kind of take those next steps and not really knowing what I was doing. So I felt like I needed help. Can somebody guide me and show me the way I'm supposed to stand, the way I'm supposed to move? And then afterwards, I said, I want to help other people do that. Mm-hmm. And it just started to become natural with everything that I worked on. When I went to college, I became a student leader because I wanted to help the freshmen that were coming in to guide them for those next steps. And then even in the work world now, just making sure that when you see someone that's lost, or if you can just nudge them in the right direction, then they got it. And that joy, that spark that I see that comes in their eyes is what makes it all worth it for me, right? That they got it, that aha moment. Yes, now I can do it too. Because really, it's all about a mindset. If you can get folks to feel comfortable and just stop overthinking everything, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? How do we make that happen?
Yeah.
Things can be done so great.
Yes, absolutely. Leadership. Leader. You're definitely a natural born leader. And not all people have that confidence. That confidence piece plays a huge role into leadership as well. I love that you help others and that it comes natural to you. It's like you're living in your passion, you're living in your role, you're living in your purpose. But
Yes.
I got to ask you, what do you do for you? How do you take care of you?
That is a great question because a lot of people that enjoy helping or working with others don't do for themselves. And that's
Mhm.
why they burn out so quick and so easy. And I've actually been guilty of this a lot of my life, just focusing on everyone else. But what do they say that when you're in an airplane, that when the oxygen falls, you have to put it on yourself first in
And
order
then
to
put
help
up.
others?
Yep.
So I'm trying to apply that into my world now. So I love to paint. I love to create designs and like children's furniture. So and I actually started by doing it because there were, like, those little stools that you can get that have your name on it that say, and you're like, oh my God, that's my name. And
So
you're five.
cute.
Exactly. You get super pumped. My niece was saying that she wanted one. Her name is Danae. And so it's not a normal spelling that you see on those standard kind of plates. And so there was nothing that identified with her. And she was upset about that. And so one day I just went home and said, you know what? I'm going to create a stool that looks like you. So I made like a little black Tinkerbell and put her name on it and sealed it. And so she still has it. She's in her 20s now. She probably it's in the closet at this point. But but it was a great it felt so good for me. And then I just started painting after that. And it was just different things that would be able to let out my own expression of thought. But at the same time, doing and moving and tinkering around a lot.
Yes. See, I love it. I'm so happy that you are taking care of yourself because you do it, like I said, you do a lot for everyone else. So it's so important that we find ways to be intentional for ourselves. It's important to give back. It's important to help others. And being a leader just comes natural for me too. Confidence, not so much at first, but leadership part, I always knew I'm like telling people what to do. But
Absolutely.
I had to also learn how to be intentional about putting myself first and being intentional about fueling my tank before I can fuel other people's tank. And I found that has been very, very necessary. Although you help others and you're really big on that, and then you see the spark in people's eyes when they do get it, what advice would you give someone who is afraid, who's on the other side of that, who's just even afraid to ask for help, even though they know they need it?
Yeah, I think sometimes the reason why people are afraid to ask is because it's of how they'll be perceived.
Mhm.
Right? They're concerned that I'm going to look dumb. People aren't going to want to trust me. Or, you know what? Everyone thinks I have this perfect picture going on right now. If I say anything or do anything, it will shatter that image.
Mhm.
But it's taking that step back out to understand how to kind of connect with them, creating an open space to say, this is something that we can work on together. But you will have folks that don't want to come to you. And I would say for those that are really stuck and focused in on, I can't ask for help, think of other ways you can incorporate people in, right? So it may not necessarily be helping, it may be partnering, it may be collaborating, it might be, hearing different perspectives. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to change your point of view at that point or change everything, but it opens you up to different ideas and different thoughts, which actually can trigger other pieces, right? So I'll give you an example. I was asked to do this challenge, and they said, okay, you can do this, you'll be able to knock it out, and you have to do it within a week. Okay, that sounds great. Um, but I need help. There's no way I'm gonna be able to do this in a week. But maybe I don't want to ask for that help. But now I'm taking notes. I know everything that has to get done. I know when it has to get done. I have the details. And now I can formulate, okay, this person asked this question that could be helpful, or this, and that might trigger the next piece. And I feel like sometimes if you can have an educated question or know exactly what to ask, it doesn't feel as hard to get the help that you
Mhm.
need.
Yes, absolutely. And I do find within our community, I'll say the African American community, it is harder to ask for help because I feel like there is a stigma there to where we have to do it on our own and
Mhm.
we have to wear this strong persona all the time, like we have all the answers. And so it is a little bit harder for those within our community to reach out and ask for help, even though we know we need the help or would really benefit from a collab or partnering with someone else. But it's just that stigma of what if people think that I don't know what I'm talking about or that I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like I can't show that side of me. I have to be dominant all the time. Have you found that to be the case in some of your situations of helping others?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some folks are just, you're only ready when you're ready to be helped, right? There has to be a moment where you say, I'm going to take a chance. I'm gonna connect, but it's finding the right people,
Mhm.
right? If you're in, you can know someone for years and years and never truly open up and get that perspective. And somebody else can come in 2 days, you're already there. It's the connection, right? It's the rapport. It's that safe space that you feel. So you have to find those people first. When you can find that, then I've noticed it becomes a little bit easier because you're not worried about how you're perceived in a situation. And a lot of times, the moment that you do it, it's like a weight gets lifted. Like, oh man, if I had done this like 5 years ago, that would have been great. But, it takes time to get us there.
It does take time. And that community, I think it's so important to build that community of those that you do trust, even if it's just one person, like you said, to have there to just bounce it off, but like to really build that community and that family that kind of understand where you're going, or even if they don't necessarily understand, they're just there to listen to you without any judgment. Like, I just got to get this out because this is really happening. So I think there is beauty in community and ensuring that your community matches and aligns with your values and even your purpose.
Absolutely. And yeah, networking is the key to everything. It truly is the source, right? In my opinion. When we think about networking, we think about how we're building our relationships with folks.
Mhm.
So if you have somebody in a strong network and you're using them for every little thing, when it gets to the big times, when you really need them, you don't have them. So you have to think about Stephen Covey had come out with the emotional bank account and making sure that you're putting in your deposits and making sure that you have your withdrawals when needed.
Mm.
When we think about networking, we have to be the ones to be there. We have to not only just say, can you help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, but what can I give? What can I do? Oh, well, how do I help you here? You just spent like 3 hours with me on this. Let me help you with X, Y, and Z.
Mm.
See how you can add value into somebody else's life. A lot of times, unfortunately, you hear gimme, gimme, gimme. And then people don't want to help you again because you just said gimme, gimme, gimme. And because maybe you're young, you don't realize it, you don't know, you don't even know what happened.
Mm.
But if you can build your relationships and build that network where it's actually helping each other out, now you're there for that next step.
Absolutely. There's power. Y'all, listen, this networking thing, it's amazing. I didn't even realize how good, I call it mostly relationships, like just networking, but relationships. But I didn't realize how good I was at this until my last boss actually pointed it out to me. I worked as her exec. And so when you work for a two-star general, they're like, I need this. And you have to be, okay, really quick. And I just started to build that like, hi, it's me, Major Mack. Hey, so, can you do this for me? Oh, I need a photo in less than 10 minutes. Hi, guys, it's me again. I know y'all don't do this, but I need a favor, and then I realized like, oh my God, I am really good at this. And that's one thing she's like, I'm going to miss you when you go because you were really good at connections. You were really good at building those relationships with people. And I'm like, I was just being nice, and I would always say, if y'all need anything, let me know. I got you. Thank you for looking out. If you need me, I got you. And there has been times where they're like, you remember when you said you got me? I'm like, all right, what you got? And I'm there to help them. But there is value and just building that relationship. And then, yeah, it's not always what you can get, but it's also what you can give to continue that relationship. And some of these people, like I've had them, I'd say in my back pocket for years from one assignment because I've been able to build that relationship and kind of keep that rapport with them. So it is definitely important. Y'all better build those relationships and keep them. Stay connected.
A network will take you any and everywhere that you need to go. I'll give you an example. When I first started off in college, I wanted to do HR. I wanted to go into recruiting. And they're like, you know what? You should be an accountant. You're good at accounting. If you're in accounting, you will always have a job. Period. You're good. Yeah, that's great. But I like to talk to people. Like, yeah, I know. You can do that in your free time. You will always have a job if you're in accounting. So I'm like, you know what? Makes sense. Went into accounting. Never forget my first week. I was like, oh my God, am I not talking to anybody all day? Like, this is just not going to work out. Like, oh my goodness. I was the first one to get my stuff done. And then I'm twiddling my thumbs. Like, can I plan lunch for everyone? Can I make sure that we go out here? So then they started doing recruiting. I said, let me join in recruiting. How can I help? I got some free time. I just want to talk to somebody. Let's get into this. Yeah. And so we were going back to different schools. I'm like, okay, when do we go to the HBCUs? Like, oh, they're not really on our course, our list. Okay, well, why not? Well, we just really haven't had that much talent come from there. So we just, have focused. And I had to pause when they said it to me because I went to an HBCU. My last schooling experience was University of Maryland. So that's what they saw, but they weren't. So I was like, I went to an HBCU, right? Like, oh, well, maybe if we go to your HBCU, maybe that might work. Huh. So that was concerning. And I realized, okay, well, let me look into what companies actually do recruit at HBCUs. Maybe this might be an interest. I could not find a single one. Now I'm probably dating myself in age with that a little bit, because we're talking about when it was just the D, not the D, the I, all that. Right, exactly. But I just said this doesn't make sense. So I went back and I actually quit work. I said I'm just going to figure something else out. I want to do my passion, and I Black MBA. And I actually had someone come up and say, hey, are you interested in working here at this bank? This would be a great opportunity. So, actually, it's a great bank, would love it. And I was that confident. Right? Like that point, I knew what I wanted and I was focused. So I said, I want to do recruiting, but I want to recruit HBCU students. I know it's a different process. I graduated from one. I know how to do it, but I don't see that opportunity here. So if you ever have one, I would love to connect with you in the future. But if not, it was so wonderful talking with you. And she was kind of taken aback at that point because this is like 20 some odd year old looking like. And so she says, that's actually interesting. It's something that folks have been starting to talk about. Why don't you give me a call on Monday? So I called her on Monday and we ironed out the details. And it was my first job at PNC, was actually doing diversity HBCU recruiting, which wasn't a thing at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, all right, but now I got to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, I got to deliver.
Doing what I'm saying. So when I say I went to my network, baby, I went to my network. I went to every single Hamptonian that was working at PNC. This is what I'm doing. I have officially started. Help me help us, right? This is not about me. How do we get the person that was just like you in school to come here next year? Right. Then it became not just Hampton. Now we're looking at Howard because I was actually in the DC area. So let's make that make sense. Now we're going out to more. So it started to become this thing where now I have all these HBCU alum who are working great positions who want to give back. I'm not asking them for money. I just want their time. Give like a little bit of time back to these kids. And that was my aha moment. I was like, this is what I will do in one form or another is help us be successful. Period. In whatever fashion that, becomes as it goes on. But again, it started with that network. Because if I had had the same exact opportunity, the same exact passion, but my network didn't come back to help support and make it happen, that wouldn't have happened, right? It has to be a group, a connection, a team. And that's what made me see the value and the importance of empowering this next generation to continue that next step up.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it because you found a need and you just say, okay, this is not fair, but okay, we won't go to the HBCUs. Is that something that y'all don't do? You were like, okay, wait, why? I'm going to challenge you on this. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. And it didn't work for you. And you found another way to come back to do what you love to do. And that takes strength and that takes courage. And so you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. You're living in that. And I want to congratulate you for that because that story alone is going to inspire so many people. How many times do you talk to someone and they're doing their 9 to 5 or whatever they're doing because somebody told them to do it? Because someone told them this is what you should be doing because this really works for you and you're going to make a lot of money and they hate it. And every day they're going through a circle and they're not being human, they're being a robot.
Yeah.
And it takes courage to be like, this does not work for me. I'm going to do what I love to do and make it work for me. Oh, and I'm going to do what I told you I said I was going to do. So watch me work.
Exactly. And then take that next step in, right?
Yes.
And I appreciate that because that's why I created Achieve with Purpose is to help these students do the exact same thing. Let's stop talking about how much something makes. You can be a millionaire and you can be a billionaire, you can be a billionaire and wait every solitary day.
Everything.
What is your definition of success? What makes you happy? What makes you giddy, joking, and excited and just like, this was the best day ever? How do we now find that as a job? How do we now make that your career? If you're spending over 80 hours, or 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week, shouldn't it be something that you love?
Yes.
Shouldn't it be your passion? Why not make it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not taught that way. We're taught to do your job, get some money, and then you can be happy.
Yeah.
I had my first manager I ever had made a comment that actually was my final moment to quit was when he said, so I see that you're in accounting, and that's great, and you're doing good at it. But you're so happy when you do recruiting. You're so happy when you're on, the HR side with folks. Why aren't you focusing there? I said, oh, well, because this is going to make me money. But, I'm like, when I retire at that point, probably, then I can switch over and I'll do what I love. He's like, so you're going to wait 20, 30, 40 years to be happy?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, don't answer me because I don't want an answer. I don't understand. And he walked out the room. And because I couldn't argue my point back, I was like, yeah, he's kind of right.
Dang, let me think about this for a second.
Right. It makes you out. When someone can argue back with you, they're making their point. If you didn't let them make that point, you just gave them food for thought, that's going to burrow into your brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
The game.
challenge everyone that is listening to make it happen. And I say do it scared. Make it happen and do it scared. We have to break this cycle of just doing what we're told or just going in the path of what we think we should be doing. A lot of people I talk to, a lot of my clients will say, I just really want to live in my passion. I just really want to do what I love, but I don't know what it is. And I always laugh and I'm like, you know what it is. You know what it is. Like we wouldn't be on this call right now if you didn't know what it is. It's something holding you back. That's my job, right? To talk about that. But you know what it is. So what is? And they're like, well, I really want to do. Exactly. So pause. Let's talk about what are those, negative thoughts that's holding you back. Like that's the issue. Is like you have all of those thoughts around what is everyone else going to think or what are they going to say or am I going to have support or it's all of the everything else that's mostly holding you back from doing what you already know you should be doing and what you're capable of doing. But you're worried about everybody else that's never stepped out on nothing before to formulate and tell you how your life should be.
Absolutely. And that's the name of the game. I really comes down to mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not what do you think, just what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
If there was no dollar associated, what makes you happy?
Mm-hmm.
And now let's build upon it. But that's not how we're raised, right? It's this gives you money, do it. And then, when you're 60, 70, 80, 90, now you can go try to figure out.
When you're 90, go do that.
Right. We got to make it make more sense to us. We can't just keep following these, habits and patterns that we've built up over the years.
Like I said, it is our job to break the cycle.
Correct.
Cycle. Break the
Yes.
cycle.
Yes. We have to be that new cultural nutrition in the world.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What strategies have you found most effective in helping our HBCU students secure great opportunities?
Yeah. So I've seen it two different ways. It's interesting. When we look at more of like our interns, they're just trying to figure out what they're interested in. They're trying to build their story. A lot of times, especially because you're younger, you feel like you don't have one, right? Or you have the imposter syndrome or you feel uncomfortable. So it all starts with a mindset. Let's understand what you're interested in. Let's understand what are your triggers? What are your strengths? What works for you? And now let's find that internship or that role that can help guide you so you can learn, is that something that you're interested in doing? I encourage, freshmen, sophomore, juniors to do every type of internship that they can. When I was in college, I literally did 6 internships in different fields in business, right? I did sales, I did marketing, because I wanted to understand what the differences were and why or why not. What would that be for me? Once you get up to like you're graduating, you're ready for that opportunity. If they've been preparing with the internships, they have a better understanding of what they're interested in, and we can help guide them in. A lot of times at that point, it's now down to being prepared for the workplace. How do you make sure that you're ready day one? How do you start to learn those unwritten rules that people in the company have created that you need to figure out, right? How do you get that mentor, the sponsor, the coach that can guide you through that and be a support system? But then, most importantly, how do you handle conflict? Right? That's one of the things that I've seen the most, and not necessarily in a traditional sense, but like, let's talk about microaggressions. Let's talk about macroaggressions. A lot of times there might be a situation where maybe somebody pulls your hair or touches your hair. I've had it. I can't tell you how many times, but the response, especially to someone who's just started in the work world and not familiar with that, especially coming from an HBCU, what are you doing? Why are you touching my hair? Now they're the problem, right? Because they made the scene, they caused an issue, and now it's no, it's not about what they did, it's how you responded. And that's where I feel like a lot of us get caught up in that response, right? And even if we don't respond, how then internally we're responding and how do we feel about it? So getting them prepared for what lies in the workplace, right? Let's decode the system. Let's navigate what we're going through ahead of time. So when you come across it, you already know, stop, think, ask a question about how it made, you feel, or tell them how you felt in that in a particular manner is going to change everything. Because now it's, oh my God, look at what happened. Let's fix this situation.
Right.
So I feel like it's really getting them prepared to step into this new world of what their expectations are, and then how to then have the support in the company, right? You can have coaches for days, but you need somebody inside that's a higher up than you that you can talk to, that you can connect with. They don't need to be in your department all the time, but you need that connection internally. And those are the things that we have to build up initially and get them ready.
I agree. Just having that, like, whew, I had like all these little like flashbacks in my head, like, oh my God, if I just would have known, if I had
Yeah.
someone to just tell me that the importance of having a mentor, someone to show you just navigating out there. Cause just being an African American in the workplace, you said touch the
Yes.
hair. I'm like, ooh, how many times I've been,
Ex- exactly.
and my face is like, you
Exactly.
go somewhere. Go over there.
Exactly.
Don't touch me.
Yes. Yes. Or the things that you don't even realize. Like, I'll never forget, there was one time it was like 15 people at Top Golf. Okay. You have the CEO and 3 of his leaders all out there swinging. And they're like, and now as they're playing, they're talking about, oh man, maybe we should work on this project later. Oh, you know what? I think this person, hey, you see Tom? Maybe Tom should join this, or maybe this person. I was coming from another event, right? So because I arranged it. I walk in, and what I literally saw was to my left of the bar, there was a group of people, and to my right were the golfers. Here's the problem. A lot of those HBCU students were over by the bar, not because they didn't want to, they didn't know how to play golf, right? That was not their thing. Some were, right? But not everybody. But the ones that were playing golf, guess what? They all got an opportunity. They all got a project. They all got the next step because they were in the room, in the space.
Yep.
The others that were by the bar, well, we came. I mean, there was nothing for us to do. We don't know how to play. Okay, again, that's an unwritten rule. Go and join in. You may not know it. You may turn out to like it. You may turn out to hate it. But guess what? You're in the room for the opportunity.
Yep.
And it's a lot of little things like that that's like, oh, well, that's not my interest, so I'll just join the next thing. It's not how it works. To be a part of it, you have to show up. You have to be there to get the opportunity. So it's teaching all of the norms that, you think you know, or you don't know unless someone tells you.
Say, I don't do that. I don't do that. It doesn't, get out there, sit at the table, have the conversations. It may be boring. It may not be your style, but you're going to have to get out there and do that to even have a seat at the table. Now, once y'all get me at the table, game over. Because I'm like, I'm coming. I am coming. But I just need to get to your table. Let me just get to the table. Let me do what I have to do. And that's so important. Part of the reason, because I'm thinking about my military side of it, because I've been in for a while. And that is one of the biggest things. Is like the days that I get really, really frustrated. The thing that keeps me motivated is being an inspiration for some other soldier that looks like me, because there's not very many of us. And so I'm always fighting to get at the table. And when I get to the table and I look around, I'm the only one. And I'm like, it's cool. I'm good with it, sir, ma'am. Let me tell you what I've known. And I'm ready. I am always ready. Please call me. Do you want to brief? Absolutely. I'll brief. Who am I talking to? It's in 10 minutes. I got it. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Always ready. And that's what I teach. I just had a soldier the other day come to my desk, and he's getting ready to get out of command. And I had another soldier say, but do you really need command? Like, to him, did you really need command? And he said, no, not really. And I said, absolutely, at the same time. And so he's like, no, not really. And I said, absolutely. And then he started laughing. I was like, let me tell you something. We need everything. We need everything because we're competing. Okay.
Yep.
Our packet better be tight. So if you have an opportunity for command, even though your MOS, what you're doing now may say, you don't really need command. We do. Yes, we do. So you need all the time. Any opportunity you have, absolutely, you're going to take it, and you're going to do it to the best of your ability so you can move on, because now you're competing and there's no difference to that. So I like to teach that, like, listen, I wish I had someone to tell me, because it was rough in the years before. And I just have to be that for them to say, listen, it does not look the same for us. From the time,
it is what it is. It doesn't look the, but that's what it is. And how do we then take the next step? You know what I mean? And get there, because that is, and say, well, why do I have to work harder than somebody else? Like, it's not fair. Life is life, but you know what? You're going to be prepared. And the phrase my grandfather always used to say was, you don't have to, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So if you on it, you on it. And so don't worry about somebody else. Right. Let them not be prepared, but you will be. And that's all that matters.
All that matters. Stay ready. I say that all y'all better stay ready. For everything, stay ready. Hey, do you want to do this last minute? I'm ready. When? Okay, cool. I'll be there. Preparing in the car, reading, but I'm be there, right? I stay ready. And I think it's
5 seconds.
That's all I need. 5 seconds. We in there. Stay ready.
Absolutely. Because it's a whole different world.
Whole different world. Whole different world. As you continue your work empowering students, HBCU students, what are your future goals? Where do you want to see this go?
My future goals is for this to help really all college students to take that next step, to be a stepping stone for guidance, for the tools that you need. I feel like it boils down to a mindset. It boils down to being able to connect and build. But I mean, more in the immediate, it would be HBCUs, student support services, helping, ROTC, like taking that next step out to help folks that are ready, prepared, and guide them
Mhm.
for that journey.
Yeah. Like I said before, you're such an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me and you're an inspiration to all. And I love what you do. I know you're not going to stop, but please don't stop doing what you're doing because we need it. We need it so much. We need someone like you. I wish I had you years ago. I really do. I wish I had someone to just show me. I mean, I had to figure it out. It's okay, figured it out. But
Mhm.
it's important to have that person there to kind of warn you or prepare you for what's out there because it's not the same for us. And if you have someone that there just telling you like, hey, it's not the same for us. No, it's not necessarily fair, but this is how we're gonna get through it because we deserve our opportunity. We deserve a seat at the table. We deserve the same things that everyone else deserves. And this is how you're gonna do that. So I want to continue to just, thank you. Thank you.
No, and I appreciate it, but you're right, because check this out. The moment we can get to the table, then we can start co-creating a table. And that's a
Mhm.
different space for us to be in, right? In a great
Mhm.
way. So, I
Great
mean,
way.
that's just my thought process is how do we get there? What does that next step look like? And helping folks not have to go through the same pitfalls that we went through. Because honestly, the goal should be that every generation is better than the last. There
Yep.
should be no reason why this next generation should be picking off at the same place. Like they should be able to get what we finished. And
Mhm.
now you should never have that issue. Go to the next. You
Yep.
should always be able to take that. Lifting as we climb, guiding for success, and being that beacon. That's what we need to do.
Yep.
It's just we got to get there and we got to do it together, not all these individual things. Because it's almost like they have that example of okay, if you keep scooping out water out of the ocean, one bucket at a time, you're not really doing much. But
Right.
imagine you have everybody doing it at once. We might move the ocean. We might
Yeah.
make that happen. Let's do it.
We are stronger together for sure. We're absolutely stronger together. And so we have to break that stigma too. But we are stronger together. We have to work together for a greater purpose. We have to. We just
100%.
have to. Can
Mhm.
you tell the audience where they can find you if they want to connect with you?
Yes, please. I would love it. Please connect with me at www.achievewithpurposecoach.com. Achieve with purpose. Achievewithpurposecoach.com.
All right. Yes. I'll ensure to have everything linked in the show notes. Again, I want to thank you for being a part of my community and being a part of the Beauty in You podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you. And when I get to DC, we'll have to grab lunch.
Oh, I'm ready. Like I said, I stay ready. So hit me up. Let's go.
That's right. That's right.
All right, you guys. Until next time.